the example. You're amazing.
Hi, everybody.
You guys are props. Like, I don't think we've ever had a cast arrive this early. Okay, I know we're not supposed to play favorites here at ASU Damage, but this is my favorite show on the season. Can you give me
Yeah.
But don't tell any of the other shows. We're all sworn secrets because it's a few of our staff's favorite shows. It's just amazing. Okay, we're waiting for one other. Okay, real quick, show of hands. Who's tonight is their first Talkback Thursday? Okay. Great, welcome newbies. This is Talkback Thursday. This is your chance to ask the cast that will come out questions you have about the show, life on the road, really anything about this, really just anything about touring Broadway. And we're going to give a couple more minutes and we'll start doing intros. But real quick, I'd like to start out having one question kind of lined up before we get started, which I already see a hand right there. You're going to be our first question. What is it?
I'd like to know if any of the cast has been screeched.
Screech. Okay, that's going to be your first question.
We can answer it now.
You want to do it now? Okay. First, can I have an intro from you guys? Can you say your name, where you're from, and what parts you played tonight?
Okay, I'm on. James Earl Jones II. There it is. And I am from Chicago, Illinois. All right, come on. Yeah, three people. And I played Bob and others.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Duckart. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I played Kevin J, and Ali, and others.
Okay, so we have our first question right here. Have you been screeched? Or any of the cast members been screeched?
Yeah, so we've all been screeched in. I had the pleasure of being screeched in Gander, right? It's pretty amazing. But the rest of the cast got screeched in Ottawa, and what you all saw on stage was really a modified version. It's far more traumatizing. The foods that we ate. I mean, never mind the screech. The screech was the easy part.
The least painful part of the process is drinking the screech.
No. So yeah, we've all been screeched in. Beulah, Brian Mosier, Oz Fudge, they all flew to Ottawa and screeched in the entire company. And the band, the crew, the actors, everyone. Except for me that time, because I had already done it, so I just smiled.
Okay, looking for my next question. Okay, I see a hand back there in the blue polo. Okay, so there's a lot of humor in the show. How do you tackle the heavy topics but still keep the humor?
Well, that's actually a great question, and that is something that I know as an actor, it's a challenge, but it's also a lot of fun to explore because, well, one, from a dramaturgical standpoint or from a creation of a show standpoint, we can't just have a 100-minute show of just grief, right? That's a hard thing to sit through. Oh, thank you. And then secondly, when you meet the people of Gander, you will understand that the spirit of the people of Gander is all throughout the show, from the beginning to the very end. And a big portion of the way the people of Gander kind of supported these stranded airline passengers was by providing them moments of light and humor. It wasn't just giving them food and shelter. It was, what can we do to take their minds off of everything that's going on here? So in that same vein, I think that for us it was like, well, we are doing the people of Gander justice by having these moments of light, regardless of whether or not we're playing people of Gander when the moments of lightness come. it's still very much in the spirit of the people of Gander, the incredible gift that they gave to these stranded airline passengers, which aside from food, shelter, all that essential stuff, they gave these people a comfortable place to lay their head and a comfortable place to just be human over the course of 5 days. So I think that's the way, for me at least, that I can reconcile it, is I know that the people of Gander would want us to represent it that way because that's the way they carry themselves. One more cast member.
Welcome to Talkback. Would you mind introducing yourself? Tell us where you're from and what parts you play tonight.
I'm Kristen Peace. I played Bonnie and Others, the SPCA worker. And what else? Oh, where am I from? I'm from Canada. I'm just from outside Toronto. I've never said Toronto a day in my life. We say Toronto. Yeah, I'm trying to be all posh here.
Okay, I'm gonna look for a question from this side of the room. Right there, I see a hand with the lovely blue blouse on.
Two questions. Is it harder or easier to play multiple characters? And two, where do you guys drink after the show?
Okay. Is it harder or easier to play multiple parts? And then what do you drink after the show? Where? Sorry, where? Oh wait, don't tell them where you're going. Just tell them what you drink.
I'll answer. I'm not sure if harder is the right word. I think, when you're in a show, when you just play one character, you have more space to completely involve yourself within that character. And this, you have to be able to let go very quickly. Letting go in this show has become very easy because the lighting is so brilliant, and the choreography, we call it the magic tricks of dropping a coat, dropping a sweater, adding something, has been so easy. I can barely speak today. It's very easy for us, so it's made it easier for us. Wow, that did not make any sense whatsoever. She's tired. Thanks for the question. Thank you. Good night.
Well, just to piggyback, I'll answer where we drink later. But no, I will say that I think for all of us, when we were learning the show, I think one of the things that we were always very concerned about was how the hell are we going to make this happen to play? We represent 16,000 stories, right? So that's where the others comes into play. So you're just, I don't know if I'm going to have the brain capacity for this. But the way our show is taught and the way we rehearse, it actually makes perfect sense. And the show has a beautiful way of, for example, let's say I have a moment as Ali. I take a break and I'm helping somebody else with their scene. So I have a second in that transition before I get into my next scene as Kevin J to just reset, take a breath, and then proceed accordingly. I always tell people it's like I have like 2 or 3 versions of this show in my head at any given time. We basically are all doing the show 3 times a night, basically, in a weird way. As far as where we drink, it varies per city. What's Mill Street? Is that the big street down here? I'm not gonna say that we did or didn't go there the other night, but we did or didn't go there the other night.
If they're looking for the past, apparently it's Mill Avenue. Okay. I want to make sure I get a question from the very back somewhere. I see a gentleman right there with the white shirt on.
How close to the actual is the play compared to reality?
How close is the show to the true story?
They are all true. That's how close they are. I will say there is one story that is switched, although there were African come-from-aways there. The story involving the Bible actually was with a Moldovan family of women. But all of the stories, the interviews, the stories that we tell are all coming from these interviews in a very honest place.
Okay, I see a hand right there with the red polo.
Okay, it's kind of a loaded question, but it did say this happens during September of 2001, and I'm sure most of us were still alive around when this happened. And what's it like doing a show that's based on an event that we may or may not have heard about almost 21 years ago?
What's it like being part of a show of an event that most of us lived through? That's a great question.
I mean, I think we each individually have our own sort of emotional attachment to September 11th, 2001. I know that the words that I come up with, there's a couple. One, I think we all carry a great sense of responsibility to tell it with integrity and not shying away from the trauma around 9/11. But we also have an incredible privilege to tell this particular 9/11 narrative that I know for me, when I saw the show on Broadway, how many years ago, I thought it was fiction. I didn't realize this was real. And then when I found out it was real, I became so obsessed with it because I could not believe that out of this time of complete and utter darkness, there was this beam of light that came from Gander, Newfoundland. So for me to be able to be a small piece in this vessel of kindness and humanity, it is the greatest privilege of my life, or my career. I would say privilege of my life, but career at least. And I know that I every night when that bell run starts, that boom, 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 that drum, I just feel like the luckiest man on earth to be able to share this story of kindness with everybody.
I will say, I was just saying, like, I don't know how I can say it better than that. What a wonderful way to put it. For me, as a Canadian, and especially speaking to my parents about this, who I think were a little bit more aware, it's kind of interesting as someone from a different country. I was part of the country that took people in. And so for our community, there was an understanding of this terrible thing. We experienced the terrible thing. We had people who we lost in this terrible event. But there was, I think, a country camaraderie of what do we do, how do we help, can I help, can we take in, what can we do, what can we send, So we're on that other side of it as Canadians. So coming into this, it was interesting because I wasn't sure if it was something that I needed to take on a somber tone. Do you know what I mean? For us as Canadians, it gets a little bit like party, this feels a little bit like woohoo, let's go to the bar and drink, and what am I gonna do, and let's get it done. But coming into the show, I wasn't sure if it was something that I needed to take on a somber tone. So for me, it's been a nightly thing and sometimes changes night to night, and you have to very much read the room in my position. So it kind of changes slightly, but you always have to come into it with love and respect and don't take on the emotion of it, but just to allow the audience, just tell the story and allow the audience to feel whatever it is that they need to feel at that point in time.
This show is like a Christmas song. It's like for people ages 1 to 92. I think that when you think about a show, there are plenty of shows out there that are entertaining, some that are educational. Ours is both. And I think that it never bothers me, it never changes my position on how I want to tell the story if we have audience members who are clearly aware of what was happening, and others, like we've done high school matinees, in Los Angeles and other cities where no one except for the teachers actually knew what happened. But it doesn't change how we relate the story because it is educational as well as entertaining, as well as interesting, as well as engaging, and therefore it allows these students or people who didn't know, who weren't born, they will learn more about it. They will Google some things, because Google is amazing now. And it's like, and I mean, obviously when this terrible event happened, nothing went viral. That wasn't a real thing. But now people can look up all of these things, and our story informs these young people of a horrific yet amazing moment in our time and allows them to further tell that story. Our show in general, whatever city we go to, is a word of mouth show. I think that sometimes we come to a city, if we're there for 4 weeks, chances are, if no one's heard of the show, our first week is kind of like, oh, people are enjoying it. Second, third, fourth week, it's much harder to get tickets, right? Because the word of mouth about this amazing show, and it doesn't matter if you're older, it doesn't matter if you're younger, like, we tell this story unapologetically and hope that you take something away from it.
Okay, I see in the gray shirt, your hand was up, I saw you from before.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
All of them.
Have you ever met the real life versions of the characters in the show? And what was it like?
Yes, we've all met our. I don't know if you guys call them doppelgangers. We've always called them doppelgangers. Yeah, we've met them, talked to them. They come out and visit sometimes. They typically do the big opening of companies. Bonnie and I have become very, very close. She's kind of like Auntie Bonnie. And so I talk to her at least once a week, and she sends pictures of the puppies that come into the SPCA for me. She sent a picture of a squirrel the other. She's like, am I keeping the squirrel? I'm keeping the squirrel. I was like, you're keeping the squirrel as a pet, yeah. I'm gonna send it a hat and a sweater. Yes, that's what's happening. So, yeah, we're very lucky that we know our doppelgangers. Yeah.
One of my greatest or fondest memories of being on this tour was when we opened the tour in 2018 in Seattle. We got to take our opening night curtain call with our doppelgangers next to us. And that was, Kevin J he had been enjoying the bar for sure. But
He's wild.
He's a wild one, that Kevin J. But he's a blast. And we've like Kristen was saying, like, getting a chance to meet all of them, and they're now a part of our lives. I mean, they come out, pre-COVID, they would come out all the time. And I remember opening night when we were at the hotel, I was so starstruck, like going down the elevator for breakfast at the hotel, I'm like, oh my God, that's Beulah's right there. Or, oh my God, that's Beverly Bass, like just losing my mind that these people were actually here. And now we're so lucky to call them our friends.
I have just like 2 more questions. Okay. Well, I have to ask you because you have the best questions. Okay, what's your question?
Okay. It's a very complex show. It deals with so many different things. For you, when you tell the story every night, what is something you want the audience to get from or learn or like change their life?
Okay, it's a complex show.
And I know you can't control that, but it's like when you
Keep adding words on. Okay, complex show. What do you hope the audience gets from the show every night? Do you have any goals that you set for yourself so that the audience can walk away with something?
In the most simplest of words, kindness is free. Mm-hmm. Kindness is free. That's it.
And as the actor who has the great fortune of playing Ali and the Muslim storyline around 9/11, I know for me, if I can get one person who maybe has an unfounded opinion of a certain demographic for no reason whatsoever, they can see this beautiful representation of a man who's just a father trying to do right by his family, who happened to look like the guy on the television that people were scared of. And if I can get someone, as the actor who plays that, if one actor can say, you know what, I need to change the way I look at people as a whole, then that's like the greatest honor for me. That's the greatest gift.
I'm a black man in America, right? And being a black man in America, being a black man sometimes in Canada, being a black man in many places, you feel foreign. And my character, Bob, has a really great arc. like for me, even going to Gander, like I was telling Nick and another audience for a talk back that like I was like the one grain of pepper in a sea of salt. but they welcomed me with open arms. The entire town, not just the people that like we characterize on stage, but like everyone I ran into treated me with kindness, right? And so like I want people to walk away from this not feeling like the story that I'm telling is really like unbelievable, but that like, yes, kindness is free. Yes, you can walk out of here like accepting people just like at face value. You don't have to judge them for what they look like, what they believe, who they love. Because our show is essentially a love letter to humanity, right? And I want people to take away from that, like as they leave, like prior to the pandemic, like people left the theater, people you didn't know hugged more, shook hands, acknowledged, helped with the doors, helped just in general throughout the lobby, and you could see it. You could see people changed, and that's what we hope. And that's what I hope, that people leave this theater changed and hopefully apply what these amazing people did on 9/11 and for those next 5 days into their everyday life.
No pressure, but this is going to be the question that ends it all. So, who has the confidence? I'm seeing there's going to be a hand over here. Okay, it is that hand right there in the front row. This is it, so it's got to be good. Okay, no pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure.
How would I rate each one of your Newfoundland-ish accents?
Oh.
Okay, if she were from Gander, what would your rating of your, okay, now I can't even say it, Newfoundland accent?
I mean, I don't know. Kristen, what do you think? 'Cause she's the Canadian.
As the Canadian expert, you must rate your fellow cast members.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
No pressure. End the night.
Listen, I mean, I'm not gonna do that. We're not gonna put you on the spot. But I will say that, like, I think I can speak for myself, and we all jump dialects like crazy in the show. The Newfoundland dialect is one of the hardest dialects I think I've ever had to try to learn. And our dialect coach, Joel Goldie, still comes out and gives us notes, every month or so, because it is a work in progress even after 4 years. So I think, let's just say we're all like out of 5, just to put it right down the middle, right? Like we're all like out of 5.
I'm gonna brag a little bit more than that because I did 7 seasons in PEI Charlottetown Festival, and almost our entire crew were Newfoundlanders. I lived with a Newfoundlander for 3 years. I finally understood him after 2.5. Yeah, so I was very, very familiar with the dialect.
They're not here, so I rate it as a 9.
Yeah.